Today is a special day for us for many reasons. One is that a new listing is always a very happy occasion for the CSC. Secondly is that this is the second company of the LVL group that is listing itself. So we are very happy to see your group reaching out to the capital market once again. And the third reason is that this is the second IPO within the first 5 market days of the year. In fact, yesterday someone asked how the market is doing, and my reply was, it's a dream start, because during the first 6 days of the year, our turnovers have been higher than the last 3 years. It's averaging at over 1 billion. The indices are up both on the S&P and the all share, 2% and 3%. In the first 6 days, there's a net foreign inflow of 2 billion, and we have had 2 IPOs opening within the first 6 days of the year. So I think most markets envy a start like this for any given year. So in that sense, I think it's a dream start. LVL Energy is a company that we would really welcome, a company that is involved in several mini hydro projects, I think including 2 thermal plants in Bangladesh and also a wind power plant. And the second company to list after the initial Lanka Ventures, which was listed, I think, way back in about 1995 or 96, thereabouts. And as I said, we are very happy to welcome Lanka Ventures back again, and we would like to invite you to keep reaching out to capital markets for their funding requirements. So I would like to take this opportunity to wish the company all success in your future endeavors. We thank you very sincerely for being part of this ceremony today. It's very important for us, the fact that you are here with us to share this great moment.
Valuable members of the press corps, the staff of the stock exchange, and distinguished guests. It is a historic moment for LVL Energy Fund today because we are starting trading after a very successful IPO, which was oversubscribed. If anyone were to ask me what were the reasons for our success, the successful IPO, I would put down 5 points. One is the sector. Well, we believe we were in the right sector, energy sector, because as you know, there is always an increasing demand for power and energy in this part of the world, particularly in renewable energy, which is considered to be both fashionable and attractive in terms of financial reward. Then our investment strategy. I think we had the correct investment strategy. We are not into empire building. We are not so much concerned about ownership. We have shareholdings ranging from 20% to 85%. And I call all of them, irrespective of the shareholding, our investee companies. Accountants would like to call some of them subsidiaries and others associates. But for me, they are all investee companies. So as a result, we have been able to build a large portfolio of investments comprising hydro, wind, and thermal power projects, both in Sri Lanka and abroad. Then the third, our distribution policy. Our distribution policy is very clear. We distribute the entire free cash flow of the company subject to the solvency test. We do not use the valuable dividend income for reinvestment. Fourth point, our pricing. Born a venture capitalist, I wanted to do it the textbook style. So we offered our shares at a considerable discount to the valuation. And we didn't stop at that. We got an independent underwriter to endorse the valuation. Then the fifth, the last one, our free float. We have a considerable free float, Right now it is 30%, and in 1 year's time, when the lock-in of shares will be over, it will go up to 43%. So a large free float. So I think they were the main reasons for the success of the IPO that attracted more than 750 applications, largely representing the retail sector. And with the existing shareholders, our total shareholder base will come close to 800. We have already, in monetary terms, we have already met 50% of the objectives of the IPO. The rest will also be met very soon. We look forward to active trading of our shares in the market and financial reward for the IPO investors, because I firmly believe that is the reason these shares were offered at discount, that the price set by the market, particularly by the retailers, is a sustainable price, not the price set by the company. I don't know, because, tariff, I mentioned this last time also, and tariff has not been revised. So they want to keep the costs down. The grid is an issue. So with all these, the opportunities that have been opened out to us are quite limited. So I believe there are lots of applications pending for solar projects, but not much had taken place. Now there was one tender for 60 megawatt, only about 30 applications had come. Then there's going to be another one for 90 megawatts, so we don't know how the response will be. Now it is a different ball game, the bidding process. So it is changing. Earlier there was everybody knew about the tariff, so it was very transparent. Now it is bidding because they want to keep the costs down. So I wouldn't say that they are against us, but progress is slow. Well, for solar, I tend to think that they are concentrating more on solar right now, because 60 and 90, that's about 150 megawatts that they announced. So yes, I think they are quite keen to see how the prices work out, and open out the solar market, because they've started something called Surya Bala Sangrame or something. So I think they are giving priority to solar. That will be the trend to the future, I think. There is this house rooftop solar thing that is going on, that's a separate, different thing. But then other solar projects also are taking place on a priority basis. Diversification of risk, that is what you're asking. So we will not look at Sri Lanka alone. So we will go overseas. We have already done that. Our thermal, by the way, our thermal power projects are not in Sri Lanka. They are in Bangladesh. So in our power plant, we are already operating 250 megawatt power plants, thermal power plants in Bangladesh. In our pipeline, which will materialize very soon, is another 100 megawatt power plant, thermal power plant in Bangladesh. And through the proceeds of the IPO, we will be investing 465 million in a hydropower project in Nepal. So we are not limiting ourselves to Sri Lanka. Energy mix is changing in Sri Lanka, and you mentioned LNG. We are not looking at such projects. We are small players. So, if you look at our portfolio investments in Sri Lanka, they are all less than 10 megawatt projects. So if we will be very interested in this 90 megawatt solar power project, solar tender that they are going to announce very shortly. We will, put up some bids. So we want to add solar to our portfolio, which is the missing thing. But LNG, all those things are big projects, which we would remain in the, what has been allowed to the private sector on a transparent and, not, one-to-one negotiation basis. So it is a very transparent process. That is what we will be looking at in Sri Lanka. So if there are, as he mentioned, if there are hydro more hydropower projects. If the economics work out, we will look at them positively. In fact, there are actually, we from the proceeds of the IPO, we will be investing in a hydropower project, 2 hydropower projects in Sri Lanka also. So we will go overseas because we must realize that whatever we do in Sri Lanka, our paymaster will be the CEB. So that is a risk. So in order to diversify this risk, we have gone to Bangladesh, BPDP, Bangladesh Power Development Board, Nepal Electricity Authority. So that is also one way of diversification. We will look at East Africa also for hydro, where there is tremendous potential. Nepal has, I was telling her, 40,000 megawatt potential. Well, approval process, if you are looking at local power projects, approvals take a long time because of the bureaucracy. Sometimes, in fact, he asked me last time, sometimes it can be as long as 4 years. Land is another issue. So I was told that the failure for the 60 megawatt solar power project that they announced last time, because it didn't get adequate response, mainly because of lack of land, because for a 1 megawatt solar power project you need at least 3 acres of contiguous land in a of right terrain. So these are issues. So getting approvals, environmental issues are there, as you know, for hydropower projects mainly. Land is an issue because most of the land is owned by the government. So getting land from the government is difficult. It takes a long time. And the tariff, you have to bid the tariff. So we, being a public listed company, we cannot bid at low prices and not give sufficient return to our shareholders. So those are the challenges that we face in Sri Lanka. But if you go to Bangladesh, it's a different ball game altogether. And in Nepal also, it's announced tariff for, everybody knows, for any project less than 10 megawatts. This is the tariff that will be offered. So good opportunities in Nepal for hydro. Not in this part of the world. We are looking for opportunities in East Africa for hydro. There are some of our, we have this 6 megawatt power plant called Kadavala in Guinea. Our partner there is a company called VS Hydro. They were the pioneers in hydro, private hydropower development in Sri Lanka. They are doing a lot of EPC work in East Africa, Uganda. So we are looking at opportunities in that country. For thermal power expansion, Bangladesh will be our destination. Hydro, it will be Nepal and East Africa. No, they can, because if they are, because renewable energy alone will not solve our power problem, because renewable energy, as you know, is not so dependable. So there is a rule of thumb that for every 1 megawatt of renewable energy, you have to have standby 1 megawatt of thermal power plant, because that is, you get guaranteed power. Here you don't know, you're dependent on the rain god or the sun god or wind god. So this is what has been dished out to the private sector for development. So we will have to remain in that area. But LNG and all that, those things, which are big projects, they are negotiated and all that. We don't want to get involved in that unless an opportunity comes our way for a small investment. We will consider looking at the the return, whether if it is commensurate with the risk, we will look at such opportunities. But yes, and there are issues with regard to the grid for, when you're developing renewable energy, because it is fluctuating all the time. It imposes tremendous pressure on the grid, and our grid is not a very intelligent grid. So that is also one thing is the size of the grid, whether it can absorb Other thing is whether they can absorb these fluctuations. So those are the issues, and so we will work with whatever that has been opened out to us. Well, they are looking at more on solar, in the renewable sector. I really don't know, because solar is available only during daytime and on sunny days. So unless you have some way of storing them and then using it during the peak time, that can be a major challenge to meet the peak demand. So the thermal, I mean, whether it is LNG or coal or whatever, is an essential component. We just cannot rely on. The Adelaide suffered a blackout because they relied so much on renewable energy. Now they are getting people to put up their solar power plants on their rooftops and also batteries. So they are becoming self-sufficient in energy. Government doesn't have to supply. You generate your own energy, but you have to have the batteries. Battery technology is also developing. Right now they are expensive. So those are the issues.